I didn't really feel comfortable doing interviews. Didn't feel very well, but besides that, my worldview was different from so many other people's. Me and Carl had some interesting, in-depth perceptions about the nature of time, space, and the reality of the holographic paradigm. David's insights into the neurological structure of the hologram was very much like my own inner feeling about the implicate order. The thing people need to understand is that the implicate order is just one part of the story. Without the explicate, there really is no implicate. Because the implicate is a flowing, changing river of waves. It really doesn't have any order, doesn't have any organization, doesn't have any beginning or endings. So it's difficult in this morass to speak of order. The only way that you can relate to it in terms of order is to bring order into the equation. Holographically, this means you have to have an impingement of waves from more than 2 dimensions, for example. That means you have to literally step outside of the implicate order, which is almost an impossibility since everything is enfolded in the implicate order, and only a very small percentage of what we term this overall reality is explicated, just as ocean only has a thin veneer or surface in which the waves collide and ride across the surface of the ocean or in a pool of water. If you look down into a pool of water, you see only on the surface relatively thin veneer, so to speak, of waves on the top. Down beyond that, everything appears to be calm. Of course, we know that the depths are endless, from which the implicate unfolds into the explicate, or into the apperceived reality, the reality that we have out here in the physical. Of course, we're sitting here looking at it from the explicate, so it's difficult for us to see the depth. We can only, shall we say, feel the depths of the implicate order, because their source is as infinite and endless as deep space might appear to be to those standing here on Earth. So this deep, dark, endless internal space has its origins in endlessness, in infinity. And for some reason, and I'm not one to know all the reasons why it does, but it seems to have a surge, thrust to come out, to unfold, as it were, from this internal space. Just as our communication and life itself, all organisms seem to unfold out of this infinite nothingness or void. Some scientists would say. You might say that out of this endlessness comes somethingness, comes order of some kind. And by order here I mean the explicate. In this sense, and following the same concept, the explicate means that which unfolds or reveals itself through the process of perception. In my understanding and feeling for this internal order and its relationship to the explicate, you might say that without the process of perception, neither the implicate nor the explicate would exist, because it's through this unfoldment, through the perceptual process, this observation that we do of relationships, because it's all about relationships here in the language plane. I tend to think of this also as a language plane, because without words and gestures and self-expression, there would be no articulation of this inner space, or anything for that matter, because we need some kind of a symbolic structure to get at it. So in that sense, perception and the implicate plane are one and the same. You might say through words, through expression, and through feeling, the implicate was released into the physical plane, into the three-dimensional plane. So in that sense, the implicate might also be synonymous with the fourth dimension, or a method, or a dimension rather, of infinite time, simultaneous time, where there's no beginnings nor endings. Therefore, endings and beginnings are all part of the explicate, the released or expressed, or one of other words, perceived. It's through the very process of perception that that which is in many ways would appear to be beyond encasement, or dictation, or any kind of control, would be harnessed, as it were, in some kind of a structure, and explicated or released and expressed. This is what words do, you see. They allow us to share something that is immeasurable or measureless, has no order, no beginnings or endings, is infinite in nature, structureless. A sea of impinging waves without any self-expression other than the expression that we give to it when we give it expression, when we harness it to the vehicle of words. It is through the vehicle of words, this tool that we use, through the perceptual process, that we're able to get at something that is infinite. Of course, on a multidimensional level, or on a holistic level, we're all unified in one with this, but without any kind of a mode, or without form or shape. that which the implicate is would have no method of being released or expressed. So you see, it's through the interactive process of communication and individual perception that which is deeper than even words can express, but only words could embrace just for the moment, is able to come out and be seen and be felt and be understood as perhaps something that in essence is very similar to that which we call God.